Hello my gorgeous friends of Webflow, it's your friendly neighbor Francesco from Supersider here. Let me ask you something. When you hear the word breadcrumb, what pops into your mind? Maybe Hansel and Gretel, right? Trying to find their way back through the woods by dropping crumbs on the ground. Only to realize those crumbs are not exactly the most reliable GPS system. Luckily, in Webflow, breadcrumbs are much more dependable if you build them right. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. Actually, we're going to build two. A simple, manually configured breadcrumb, perfect for websites with a clean, shallow structure, and a dynamic, automatic breadcrumb that configures itself based on the URL, ideal for CMS-rich projects and nested structures. We'll also make sure that everything is fully accessible, with screen reader support and no broken links, easy to customize thanks to the power of Webflow components and properties, and easy to maintain with just a few clicks, not dozens of manual edits on every page. By the end of this video, you will have two reusable breadcrumb systems that you can drop into your projects and adjust however you like. If you're looking forward to it as I am, stick around, and if you find my videos helpful and want to support my work, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. But now bring your favorite kind of breadcrumb, visual, not edible, and let's build! To test and demonstrate both systems, we'll be working inside a free template called Kayo, designed by Pavel Gola. You'll find the link in the video description. Let's open the Pages panel in Webflow and quickly walk through the site structure. You'll see homepage, service, about, work, contact, blog, pricing. There's also a folder labeled template info and another folder labeled blog. That blog folder I added myself, and we'll get to why in just a second. Before that, let's take a quick look inside the CMS. Open the CMS panel and you'll find four collections: projects, project categories, blog posts, blog post categories. Each of these has its own CMS template page, of course, and inside those template pages we already have working layouts, perfect for testing. Now, let's talk about that blog folder I mentioned a moment ago. This is where things get interesting, and it sets up our breadcrumb challenge nicely. So, by default, when you create a blog posts collection in Webflow, it gets a URL like this: posts, post slug. But what if we wanted to live under a blog section of the site? Something more structured like blog, posts, post slug. Same thing for blog categories: blog, categories, categories slug. To make that happen, here's what I did. Created a new folder called blog from the Pages panel, exactly like the one you now see in the template. 2. Went into the settings of the blog posts template page. 3. Under parent folder, selected blog from the dropdown. 4. Repeated the same process for the blog posts categories template page. This tells Webflow to nest the CMS template pages inside the blog path, which means now, whenever we link to a blog post, the URL will be blog, posts, post slug. Not only is this great for organization and SEO, it's also perfect for our breadcrumb system, because now we're not just working with flat pages. We've got a more complex, layered site structure, which gives us a real challenge to solve. And that's exactly what we want. So now that we've got a solid structure to test against, it's time to build the first version of our breadcrumb. We're starting with the manual solution. Let's jump in. Now we're kicking things off with the manual breadcrumb solution. This is perfect for sites with a simple structure where you want to be in control and manually define each step of the navigation trail. Ideally, we want to build our breadcrumb inside the style guide so we can keep things organized. For this reason, let's head to the style guide page in Webflow. Find the last section labeled style guide elements, duplicate it, and now let's clean it up. Change the heading to breadcrumb. remove the background color primary class from the section, and inside the style guide grid, delete everything. Now we're ready to build from scratch. Add a div block inside the style guide grid and give it the class breadcrumb. We're not adding any visual styles here, just top and bottom padding to VW. But what really matters is accessibility. So open the element settings panel, set the tag to nav, and add an attribute. Area-label equals breadcrumb. This tells screen readers that this nav element is specifically a breadcrumb navigation. Inside the breadcrumb div, add an ordered list and give it the class breadcrumb list. Style it like this: display flex, direction horizontal but set to wrap, just to make sure the breadcrumb will wrap to the next line in case there's not enough space. Then gap 0.5 rems and padding and margin 0. The reason we use an ordered list, not unordered, is because the order of the items matters. Breadcrumbs are sequential. Webflow adds a few list items by default. Delete them all except one. We'll use that one to build out the structure and then duplicate it later. Give it the class breadcrumb list item. Set the layout to display flex, align center, gap 0.5 rems, padding and margin still 0. And for the font color, let's pick the variable text muted. As an optional, I like to capitalize every word just for clarity, but of course it's not necessary. Inside that list item, add a text link and give it the class breadcrumb link. Let's set the styles. Font color, let's pick the variable text muted. Text decoration, none. And let's set the text to home. Now, navigate to the element settings panel and make sure it really takes to the home page. Actually, we can temporarily set the link to take to the style guide, because by doing that, Webflow will attach the current state to the link that we can use to tweak the associated style. And we can simply set the font weight to 600 and the text color to text default. Then we can simply reassign the link back to the home page. Between each breadcrumb segment, we need a visual separator. And we're going to add 3 types: an image icon, like a chevron or an arrow, a text character, like, an angle bracket, and a CSS generated separator, pure code, no extra elements. Why all 3? Because we're building a reusable component and we want to give ourselves, or whoever uses this later, the flexibility to choose. We'll control which separator is visible using component properties later. Let's add them one by one. For the image separator, inside the list item, add an image element. Assign it the class breadcrumb separator icon. Let's choose the arrow I pre-uploaded in the assets panel. And set the height to 1.15 rems. In the element settings, mark the image as decorative. This is very important because by doing that, screen readers will skip over it. And now, done. For the text separator, still inside the list item, add a text element. Give it the class breadcrumb separator. Use the angle bracket character, or actually this is called a greater than sign. But we're not done yet. Let's go to the element settings panel and add a custom attribute. Area-hidden equals true. This is crucial because it tells screen readers to ignore this purely visual symbol. And now the second separator is ready. For the CSS separator, this one's a bit different. It lives in the code. So let's first select the breadcrumb wrapper, press Command or Ctrl E to open the quick add menu, and insert a code embed. Inside it, let's add this piece of CSS. This will add a / after each list item. except the last one, which makes sense because it has nothing after it. You can change the forward slash to anything else, like, I don't know, a pipe, but the forward slash probably is the most common. Let's also give this code embed the class breadcrumb style and move it above the list in the navigator. Why above? Just to keep things neat and in some cases ensure the styles load before the elements they apply to. Now, you won't see any separator just yet, and that's good. It means the CSS is doing its job. You've only got one list item, so it's also the last one, and doesn't get any separator. Now, let's add a bit of depth. Duplicate the list item 4 times, so you end up with 5 total. We'll use home as the root element, followed by level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Rename the link text in each one accordingly. This allows our breadcrumb to support up to 4 levels of navigation, which should be plenty for most projects. If you need more depth, feel free to duplicate further. Just remember, it'll get harder to manage manually later on. Now you should see the CSS separators appear between each item. Cool. One last thing now. We need to mark the last segment of the breadcrumb as the current page. So select the last link, level 4, and in the element settings panel, add this attribute, area-current equals page. That's it. We're ready to convert it into a real component. So let's select the entire breadcrumb wrapper and hit the shortcut Command or Control Shift A. This opens the component creation panel. Name it breadcrumb manual. Assign it to a group breadcrumb components. And in the description box type manually set the copy and the link of each navigation item. Click create and boom, our first breadcrumb component is officially live. Now let's make it flexible by adding properties. We'll group them by type so it stays clean and organized. Let's start with the text separator, the one using the greater than sign character. Select the first text separator inside the first list item, then go to the element settings panel and add the following properties: visibility, and assign it to a new group called text separator, and then the text property that we assign to, of course, the same group. Then go through the other list items and assign these same properties to the other text separators. And that's it. Text separator done. Next, select one of the icon separators, the arrow image. And from the element settings panel, once again, let's add the visibility property and create a new group, the image separator group. And then create the image property. And of course, let's assign this property to the same group. Again, let's go through the other list items and apply those same properties. Done. Now, the CSS separator. This one's super easy. Let's select the breadcrumb style code embed element, and once again, from the element settings panel, let's add a visibility property and assign it to the new CSS separator group. Now for the main part, the links. Let's start with the first one, home. Since this always points to the home page, we don't need a property for the URL, but we might want to customize the label. So select the link, and from the element settings panel, let's add a text property. And let's assign this property to a new group called root. Great. Now move to the second list item, level 1. Here we need 2 properties, link and we want to assign this property to a new group called level 1. And then we also need to create a text property that we assign to the same group. Now we have to repeat this same setup for the next 3 list items. So level 2, level 3, level 4, and each one gets 2 properties. The link property again, which is grouped by the level, and the text property. Again, this one as well is grouped by the level. That's all there is to it. You've now built a fully functional, configurable and accessible breadcrumb component. Next, we'll put it to test on both static and dynamic pages. Let's see what it can do. Actually, I've just realized we need to add another fundamental property to all the internal list items. So to level 1, level 2 and level 3. A visibility property, so that, based on the URL of the page, we can manually pick what items to show or hide. For this reason, let's select the second list item, the level 1, the item, not the link, and from the element settings panel, let's create a visibility property and assign it to the level 1 group. Now, we just need to do the same thing for the next 2 list items by making sure we assign the visibility property to the corresponding group. Let's start simple. Open the service page, scroll to the top section, the section services hero, and drag in the breadcrumb manual component. Now we configure it. We want to use the CSS space separator, so we can set the text separator visibility to hidden, set the image separator visibility to hidden, and for the breadcrumb items, we only need the root plus the current page. So we'll keep home and level 4. We can hide level 1, level 2, and level 3. Then let's set the link property of level 4 to the service page, and let's set the text property of level 4 to service. Done. We can technically test in preview mode, but to be safe, let's publish the project and test a live link. And now let's click around. The home link takes you to the home page. And the service link reloads the current page, as expected. Everything works. Now let's make things more challenging. Open the blog post template page and locate the element called post grid right top. Drop in the breadcrumb manual component. Let's break down what we need. Based on the URL structure, so blog, posts and blog post slug, we'll need home, then level 1 for blog, level 2 for posts, though it's actually not a real page, and level 4, the current post. And same as before, let's use the CSS separator, so hide the other 2. Then let's set the link property of level 1 to the blog page and set the text property of level 1 to blog. And what about level 2? There's no actual page at blog posts. That's just part of the CMS collection path. So for now, leave the link field empty and set the text to posts. Then let's hide level 3. And for level 4, let's use the purple dynamic binding to link to the current blog post and set the text to the post name or another CMS field if needed. Now, this setup works visually, but from an accessibility standpoint, we've got a problem. Level 2 still looks like a clickable link, but it leads nowhere. Not great, especially for screen readers. So, how do we fix that? Let's open the component in edit mode. Now, we want to handle this properly. First of all, we know that the first link, home, and the last one, current page, will always have a valid destination, so this doesn't apply to them. But for any intermediate breadcrumb items, like our level 2, in this case, we need to go to the link element, open the element settings panel, and add this attribute, area-disabled. Now, we need to expose this as a component property. So create a new component property called area disabled and assign it to the corresponding group. So level 1, level 2 and level 3 in this case, because those are our intermediate levels. And let's set the default value to false, since most links will be active. This way, we can selectively disable any breadcrumb item that doesn't actually link to a page. But we're not done. Visually, it still looks like a link. So now let's go to the breadcrumb style code embed and add this extra bit of CSS. What does this do? It disables mouse interaction, so no clicking, makes the text inherit the surrounding color so it doesn't look like a styled link, and removes any underline or visual cues that it's clickable. Now let's save and close the component. Back on the blog post template page, go to level 2 and set the area disabled property to true. Now publish the site again and test. Home works. Blog goes to the blog overview. Posts looks like text and isn't clickable. Good. And current post is correctly labeled and linked. If you inspect the code in your browser, you'll see that posts as area-disabled equals true. No pointer events and looks like regular text. Success! If this were a real client project, we'd now go through and manually configure breadcrumbs for every relevant page. But lucky us, we're about to make things way easier. Let's build a smarter, more scalable solution, the automatic breadcrumb. Coming up next. We'll use our previous breadcrumb component as a starting point. So first, go to the style guide. Find the breadcrumb manual component and duplicate it. Then I'll link the duplicated instance. And now let's clean it up. First, open the breadcrumb style code embed and remove the CSS for the area disabled behavior. This will now be handled by code. Let's click Save and Close. Then, inside the breadcrumb list, delete list items for level 1, level 2 and level 3. Also, remove the level 4 text, because the new code will decide whether to keep or overwrite the link text. This gives us a minimal, clean starting point. Now, before we drop in the script, we need to add a couple of attributes so our code knows where to hook in. These attributes aren't for accessibility, they are purely for logic. So first, select the breadcrumb wrapper and add fc-breadcrumb equals component. Then, select the second and last list item, the one for the current page, and add fc-breadcrumb equals last-level. Perfect, now we're ready to add the code. Still inside the breadcrumb wrapper, add a new code embed element. And let's paste in the script. You'll find the full version in the clonable linked below this video, of course. As usual, the script is fully commented, so you can follow along or ignore it and just use it as is. Let's quickly break down what it does. First, it reads the current page's URL and splits it into its segments, using the slashes as delimiters. Then, for each segment, except the first, the home, and the last, the current page, it creates a new list item inside the ordered list. Next, it uses the slug value as text, but replaces any dashes with spaces. Then, it tries to link each segment by combining them back into a partial path. If the path leads to a valid page, it creates a normal link. If not, like blog posts, it creates plain text instead, for better accessibility. Finally, the script handles the last segment. If you've left the last level link empty, it populates it with the text from the last segment. If you manually entered a value, it keeps it as is. useful if you're binding to a CMS field like post title instead of using the slug. But why this setup is better? First, you don't have to manually create or hide list items. Then, you don't have to assign URLs. And finally, you don't even have to think about what's a link and what's just structure. The script figures it out for you. And yes, this new approach handles edge cases like CMS collection paths, 404 safe logic, and dynamic labels. Let's now turn this updated structure into a new Webflow component. Select the entire breadcrumb wrapper and press once again Command or Control Shift A and give your component a name. Let's say breadcrumb auto. And let's assign it to the group we have already created, the breadcrumb components group. For the description, let's write something like automatically set the copy and the link of each navigation item. Click create and we're in business. Now, let's add the necessary properties, just like we did before. For the CSS separator, select the breadcrumb style element, add a visibility property, and assign it to the CSS separator group. For the root link, select the link inside the first list item, ensure it links to the home page, and then add a text property and assign it to the root group. For the text separator, select the text separator, the greater than sign element, and let's add two properties once again, visibility and text, and assign both these properties to the text separator group. By the way, you should still see the area-hidden attribute with a value of true from the previous version, and that's good because we want to keep it, of course. Now, for the image separator, let's select the icon, the arrow image, and again, add two properties, visibility and image. And assign both of them to the image separator group. Now select the last list item and let's add a visibility property and assign it to the last level group. Then select the link inside that item and add a text property and assign this property to the same group, the last level group. All done. And this component is ready to be tested. Start with the blog page. Scroll to the section called Section Blog Posts Top and drop in the breadcrumb auto component. Now configure it. Hide the text separator, hide the image separator, and that's it actually, nothing else to touch. Go ahead and publish the site. Then open the live link. You should see the breadcrumb includes home and blog. The text blog is automatically pulled from the URL segment. Clicking on home takes you to the home page. Clicking on blog reloads the current page, since it's the page we're on. And yeah, everything is working, and we didn't have to configure a single list item manually. Now, let's move to something a little more complex. Let's open the blog post template page. Drop in the breadcrumb auto component. You can place it right below the manual one if it's still there. And again, hide the text separator and image separator. And don't touch anything else. Publish and check the live version of a blog post. Here's what you should see. The breadcrumb shows home, blog, posts, but not as a link, just text, and then the slug of the blog post as the current page. Just like in the manual example, the script correctly detects that blog posts is not a real page. So instead of creating a broken link, it renders that segment as plain text. Clever, right? Everything else works. Home is clickable, blog goes to the blog overview, post is just a label, and current page is linked and labeled using the URL segment. Now, let's say the slug is too long and we want to override that last segment. No problem. Select the component, find the property for the last level, the text, and enter something like, in this case, top 3 trends. You could even bind this to a CMS field like, I don't know, SEO title or whatever, if you want. Now let's publish again and reload the page. Now you'll see that the script keeps your custom value and doesn't override it with a slug. Nice, right? One last thing, you might see a tiny error in the browser console. Something like, sort of 404, not found error, but that's expected. The script tries to check if a segment links to a real page by pinging that path. If it doesn't exist, it simply renders that part as a text. So yes, totally normal, nothing's broken. And that's it, we're done for today. So, did we save the world? Maybe not, but we definitely built something powerful, reusable and accessible. And that's a pretty solid win in the Webflow universe. Now you've got 2 breadcrumb components. One manual for full control and one automatic for scalability and speed. Drop them into your projects and customize them as you like. Of course, link to the clonable for this project is available in the description down below. And if you found this helpful or you're a fellow breadcrumb enthusiast, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more Webflow tips and tricks. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Matane!